Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivanadari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivanadari. Yasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Yasodanandana Brajanaranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam this morning. Somebody wants to give an introduction. How many of you don't know me?
Hare Krishna. So we are very happy to have today Sukhavaha Mataji is with us. And all of us know already Sukhavaha Mataji, but here is a short introduction of Mataji. So Mataji is Prabhupada's disciple. And she is born and raised as a Protestant minister's daughter. Inspired by her father, she graduated with a bachelor's degree in social welfare from Pennsylvania State University. At the age of 21, in 1975, she accepted initiation from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who gave her the name Sukhavaha Devidasi. And with her counseling skill, she coupled with spiritual knowledge, she was ordained an interfaith minister in January of 1992. She has been involved in number of social welfare projects in India, including the Basana camp, I camp, the spiritual care department of Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mumbai. She regularly leads discussion to various devotee communities on compassionate communication, emotional healing and relationship, as well as conducting numerous seminars and workshops. She has written 4 books, some about truth, the entering gap, and then finding the gap, revealing the heart, and what to do, Sue. About Sue. So, we'll welcome Mataji by saying Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare Ram. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So, is someone going to be translating into Hindi? Yes, no? So, since all of you understand Hindi, and there's really quite a long purport, does somebody just want to read the Hindi? How do you do it? All English? Okay. Okay. Before I begin, I just pray that you may all bless me, my elders in age and elders in knowledge, and if I make any mistakes, especially with the Sanskrit, please forgive me in advance. I am not a Sanskrit scholar. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16, text number 51. The chapter is entitled, King Chitraketu Meets the Lord. Aham vai sarva bhutani, bhutatma bhuta bhavana, sabda brahma param brahma, mamobhe shashvati tanu, Aham vai sarva bhutani bhutatma bhuta bhuvanaha Shabda Brahma Param Brahma Mamobe Shashvati Tanu. Please. Ladies. Aham, I, Vai, indeed, Sarvabhutani, expanded in different forms of living entities. Bhuta Atma, the supersoul of all living entities, the supreme, the supreme director and enjoyer of them. Bhuta Bhuvanaha, the cause for the manifestation of all living entities. Shabda Brahma, the transcendental sound vibration, the HareKrishna mantra. Param Brahma, the supreme absolute truth. Mama, my. Ubhe, both. Namely, the form of the sound and the form of the spiritual identity. Shashvati, eternal. Tanu, two bodies. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All living entities, moving and non-moving, are my expansions and are separate from me. I am the supersoul of all living beings, who exist because I manifest them. I am the form of the transcendental vibrations like Omkara and Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. And I am the supreme absolute truth. These two forms of mind, namely the transcendental sound and the eternally blissful spiritual form of the deity, are my eternal forms. They are not material. Purport. The science of devotional service has been instructed by Narada and Angira to Chitraketu. Now, because of Chitraketu's devotional service, he has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing devotional service, one advances step by step. And when one is on the platform of love of Godhead, Prema Pumarto Mahan, he sees the Supreme Lord at every moment. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when one engages in devotional service 24 hours a day, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajanam Pritipurvakam, in accordance with the instructions of the spiritual master, his devotional service becomes more and more pleasing. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is within the core of everyone's heart, speaks to the devotee, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Yena Mam Upayanti Te. Chitraketu Maharaj was first instructed by his gurus, Angira and Narada, and now, having followed their instructions, he has come to the stage of seeing the Supreme Lord face to face. Therefore, the Lord is now instructing him in the essence of knowledge. The essence of knowledge is that there are two kinds of vastu, or substances. One is real, and the other, being illusory or temporary, is sometimes called non-factual. One must consider these two kinds of existence. The real tattva, or truth, consists of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, Vedanti tattva vidas, tattvam yaj jnanam advayam, brahmeti paramat meti, Bhagavan iti sabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call the non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The absolute truth exists eternally in three features. Therefore, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan combined are the substance. The categories of emanations from the non-substance are two: activities and forbidden activities, karma and vikarma. Karma refers to the pious life or material activities performed during the day and the mental activities of dreams at night. These are more or less desired activities. Vikarma, however, refers to illusory activities which are something like the will-o-wisp. These are activities that have no meaning. For example, modern scientists imagine that life can be produced from chemical combinations, and they are very busy trying to prove this in their laboratories throughout the world, although no one in history has been able to produce the substance of life from material combinations. Such activities are called vikarma. All material activities are illusory, and progress in illusion is simply a waste of time. These illusory activities are called akarya, and one must learn of them from the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:17. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmana akarmanas cha bodhyavyam gahana karmano gati. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. One must learn of these directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who as Anantadev, is instructing King Chitraketu because of the advanced stage of devotional service he achieved by following the instructions of Narada and Angira. Herein it is said, Aham vai sarva bhutani. The Lord is everything, sarva bhutani, including the living entities and the material or physical elements. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:4 and 5, Bhumir apo nalavayu kammano buddhir eva cha hahankara ityam me bina praktir astada aparayam itastvanam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutan mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Besides this inferior energy, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mine, which consists of the living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. The living entity tries to lord it over the material or physical elements, but both the physical elements and the spiritual spark are energies emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says, Aham vai sarva bhutani, I am everything. Just as heat and light emanate from fire, these two energies, the physical elements and the living entities, emanate from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Lord says, Aham vai sarva bhutani, I expand the physical and spiritual categories. Again, the Lord as the super soul guides the living entities who are conditioned by the physical atmosphere. Therefore, he is called Bhutatma Bhutabhuvanaha. He gives the living entity the intelligence with which to improve his position so that he may return home back to Godhead, or if he does not want to go back to Godhead, the Lord gives him the intelligence with which to improve his material position. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matasmritir janam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. From within, the Lord gives the living being the intelligence with which to work. Therefore, the previous verse said that after the Supreme Personality of Godhead endeavors, our endeavors begin. We cannot independently endeavor or act upon anything. Therefore, the Lord is Bhuta Bhuvanaha. Another specific feature of the knowledge given in this verse is that Shabda Brahma is also a form of the Lord, Supreme Lord. In his eternal blissful form, Lord Krishna is accepted by Arjuna as Param Brahma. A living entity in the conditioned state accepts something illusory as substantial. This is called Maya or avidya, ignorance. Therefore, according to the Vedic knowledge, one must become a devotee and one must then distinguish between avidya and vidya, which are elaborately explained in the Ishopanishad. When one is actually on the platform of vidya, he can personally understand the personality of Godhead in his forms, like those of Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, and Sankarshan. The Vedic knowledge is described as the breathing of the Supreme Lord, and activities begin on the basis of Vedic knowledge. Therefore, the Lord says that when he endeavors or breathes, the material universes come into existence and various activities gradually develop. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, I am the symbol Om in all the Vedic mantras. Vedic knowledge begins with the vibration of the transcendental sound, Pranava Omkara. The same transcendental sound is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Abhinatvan namino. There is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gina Gina Shalakaya Chakshra Umlitamena Tasmai Shri Guve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly continuing to open my eyes again and again. I offer my respectful obeisances to him. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavade Paschachadishtarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpachubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So this verse really has a lot of substance to it, and we could talk about any number of parts of it. Everything emanates from Krishna. Krishna breathes, and he breathes life into everything that exists. He breathes life into us. He even gives life to the material energy, a certain kind of life. He creates all the elements. And all of this manifestation, this material manifestation, comes from the subtle, the ether, the breathing, and from the sound vibration. So from the subtle, from the sound, everything is created. So we, tiny, marginal jiva energy, we are completely dependent on the Lord and the Lord's energy to sustain us, maintain us, and even to guide us. The part I'd like to focus on is, because it's mentioned a few times in this purport, of course, Krishna has 3 features. Brahma, Paramatma, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And of course, Brahman is all of the energy, and Paramatma is the localized energy within our heart, and Bhagavan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, it also talks about how the living entities in this material world are struggling. Prabhupada uses that word struggling. It's very challenging to be a soul in a human machine. It's the most challenging life there is. Of course, it's also the most glorious life there is. The demigods are waiting in line to take birth in the human form, because from this human form we have the potential of going back to Godhead. It's a little harder to go back to Godhead from the heavenly planets, because the enjoyment is just a little too much. And it's pretty hard to go back to Godhead from the hellish planets, because it's way too much. But in this human form of life, we're given intelligence, and we're given a guide. Krishna is our inner intelligence. Krishna lives in everyone's heart, providing knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And sometimes we don't necessarily talk about this inner guidance system that we have. We don't talk about it so much. We talk about the external guides. We talk about Guru. And of course, Guru, he clearly explains the scriptures to us. At the same time, our Guru and or our mentors, they're not with us 24/7. They're not with us at all times. And we can't be calling them every time we need some support or help. That would be really bothersome. But Krishna's right there with us. He is in our heart 24/7. This is how much Krishna loves us. He stays with us, and he goes with us even in life forms of animals or insects. He's right there in our heart to guide us, to give us direction. And he gives us a direction according to our desires. Now, desire is a powerful gift we've been given by Krishna. It's called free will. Krishna gives us free will, he gives us desire. And for whatever reason, somehow we desired to be here in this world. And then we also desired to find Krishna, and now we're here in this temple. So, by our desire, Krishna in our heart guides us. All of us have been guided to come in contact with Krishna personally. All of us have been guided to come to this temple, to come to ISKCON, to engage in this process. And even after we come into this process, Krishna remains in our heart to help us. It's a struggle to not just to be a soul in a human machine, but then to take on the extra added responsibility of saying, now I'm going to be conscious. I'm not just going to be conscious, I'm going to be Krishna conscious. That takes a lot. The majority of the world, they're at different levels of consciousness, and yet many are experiencing so much pain that they want to go unconscious. They want to go unconscious. So unconsciousness is a protective mechanism. Certainly, sometimes we go unconscious. We go to sleep at night. That's a semi-conscious unconsciousness, because we need to decompress from the stresses of the day. And sometimes we need to forget about the stress and the anxiety. So Krishna gives us unconsciousness. In taking on this process of Krishna consciousness, we're declaring we want to be conscious. I was looking around the temple this morning and seeing just how beautifully decorated everything is, all the marble work, all the beautiful details of everything, and not only how beautiful it is, but how well maintained the temple is. Everyone is attentive to so many details here. The deity worship, taking care of everything. Can we be that attentive as we chant the holy name? Can we be that attentive in our relationships with one another? Can we be that attentive to the details of how we speak and how we engage with one another? Can we be that attentive to the fact that Krishna's in our heart and he's witnessing all of our activities? This attention is vital if we want to be Krishna conscious. We can't become Krishna conscious on autopilot. Sometimes we read in the scriptures that if we chant, then automatically everything will happen. But it's not automatic like autopilot automatic. It's autopilot is our conditioned nature. And our conditioned nature will automatically get us what? What will our conditioned nature automatically get us? I'm sorry? Repetition of birth and death. If we're unconscious, we will automatically get another birth. That's what happens automatically. And if we're on autopilot, that can happen automatically. But we've come to this Krishna consciousness movement. We've come here and declared, I want to be conscious, not just conscious, I want to be Krishna conscious. How carefully can we proceed in our life day after day and be aware of how conscious or unconscious we are? For myself, I know that in the beginning of my Krishna consciousness, being young and having so much energy, it was the beginning of the movement, we worked really hard, and we were trained to work really hard, and we were even trained that besides coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class, too much reading was sense gratification, and that really we should work hard. And then our samadhi will come later. Work now, samadhi later. So sometimes when we're busy, it is a good way to engage the mind and dovetail all of our senses in devotional life. It's an important part of devotional life to engage our mind and senses. At the same time, just dovetailing and engaging our mind and senses, just dovetailing our senses and just working hard doesn't bring us to deeper consciousness. Deeper consciousness takes attention. We're asked to chant attentively, not automatically, not mechanically, attentively. We want to be present to the fact that Krishna's there and we're calling him. Can you imagine if you called your friend to your house and then they were talking to you and you were like in your book or looking at your phone? How do you feel when someone does that in front of you? So we're asked to be attentive in our chanting. We're also want to be conscious of what's going on in our relationships. Our relationships are a good indicator to let us know how we're doing. We can see that in relationships, so many different emotions may arise and come up. And sometimes when these emotions arise and come up, we may want to blame the other person for bringing that up in us, rather than taking the responsibility that if it came up in me, it must have been inside of me. Sometimes we say that by chanting, automatically all the good qualities manifest. And I'd like to say that I liken chanting Hare Krishna to making ghee. Okay? The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the flame. We put the flame on, and we want to purify, we want to clarify the butter, we want to purify it. So we put the flame on, and the impurities come up to the top. Now sometimes as devotees, when the impurities come up to the top, we don't like that. We don't like the looks of it. And we stir them back in and push them down. And then we wonder maybe why the process of chanting isn't working. Krishna gives us guidance, and he gives us free will. So he helps us by giving us this Maha Mantra so that the impurities can be brought up to the surface so that we can see them. Because the impurities are so subtle. They're invisible to our eyes. We can't really tell all the stuff that we got inside. All of our subtle body memories, our habits, our anartas, our false ego elements, we can't really see them. They're really pretty much under the water. And so when Krishna kindly, in the form of the holy name, brings them up to our consciousness, brings them up to our vision, he's giving us the opportunity to now, let me be attentive. How might I resolve these? How might I complete and remove these impurities rather than stirring them back in? But Krishna doesn't force. He is just the witness. He is our guide. And if we want to stir them back in, so be it. Stir them back in. It might take a few more years, but do as you like. You have free will. Now, if we really want to become purified, Krishna will also give us the intelligence that we may need to face some things which are not, become repulsed, and we move away and we want to hide them from, not just from others, we want to even hide them from our own self. However, when we're curious and when we desire, Krishna will give us the strength and the courage to face those impurities and clear them from our heart and from our mind, from our conversations, from our relationships, so that we can deepen our connection to Him. The Supersoul is a very vital part of our Krishna consciousness. And on the cover of these two books, I have the two birds. The yellow bird is the Jiva, and the blue bird is Krishna. And in the first book about the mind and false ego, the Jiva is on autopilot. He's kind of got zombie eyes. He's going through life, but he's not conscious, and he's not even conscious that Krishna's right there next to him, giving him good guidance. But the bird is just on autopilot. This is what the coverings, the layers of the false ego do. They keep us buried. And as we chant, these become revealed to us so that we can do something about it. Luckily, in the second book about the habits, the bird is waking up, Jiv Jago, and being able to recognize that Krishna is in my heart next to me, and he can help me. I just have to ask him for help. Sometimes we don't get Krishna's help because we don't ask for it. We try to figure it out ourselves. Even Draupadi, she tried to hold on to her own sorry and figure it out herself. And when she finally realized she couldn't do anything, she actually let go of her sorry and depended completely on Krishna. So this dependence on Krishna, this dependence on the Supersoul, this attention to what am I desiring? Am I taking time? Do I have time to reflect? Do I have time to recognize that Krishna's with me? Do I have time to recognize how much Krishna is giving me? He's giving me my very breath at every moment. Sometimes when we slow down, we see more. Sometimes less is more. So I just pray that somehow we can all take the time to reflect and take the time to do the inner work that's required to pull apart the layers that are covering our smothered soul self and to clear the polluted air of our mental chatter that covers our soul. And that we pray to Super Soul and call out to Super Soul, please help me. Please help me. I need help. And just that cry, I need your help. Govinda, I need your help. Krishna gives all help. So, actually, I hadn't planned for this verse because I had asked for another verse. And then Krishna put it right in front of me. So I thought, I guess there's something for me to learn in this verse. Learning to depend on Krishna and to accept whatever Krishna sends, even when we're not ready. I'm really grateful to be here with all of you, and I did want to give you time to reflect and ask some questions. I know there's really not much time left. What time does class end? 9 o'clock? 9:10? Okay, so there's 13 minutes. So maybe if there's any other thoughts, if any of you have any corrections or other thoughts about this verse, I mean, it's a jam-packed verse. We could probably talk for days on this verse. Any thoughts, any questions, any corrections? Please, I really like to interact with the devotees because what do I know? I only know little. So, please, go ahead. We got 2 devotees here.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I'm very grateful to you for telling us the importance of...
Can you speak really louder? Because I can't hear you.
Very grateful to you, Mataji. Is it audible?
Yes, thank you.
So, for making us understand what it means to become conscious of everything we do, everything we think, everything we interact with. So many times, as you said, that auto mode and we don't reflect. So my question is about this, Mataji, as you said, that nice analogy of making ghee. So as we are trying to make progress in Krishna consciousness, so there are stages like Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sang, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, etc. So it is said that after Anartha Nivritti, some things are gone. So
some things are gone?
Some kind of impurities are gone.
Yes.
So my question is, after that, it appears to become difficult to look them more, and we are more eager to remove them from others and help them. So how do we focus to see this mental chatter, as you said, actually which goes on, and focus on that as well as our responsibilities, so that we can become conscious, Krishna conscious?
Nice question. Thank you. In my own experience, we're all aware that this material world has imperfections, and that with every endeavor there is some fault. We're all aware of that. I think the tendency to look outside, it's like a protective mechanism almost, because it's difficult to just be so vulnerable even to Krishna. I mean, Krishna stole the gopis' clothes. He wanted them to be completely vulnerable in front of him. But it's a little uncomfortable to be that vulnerable with Krishna. However, so the material protective mechanisms don't want us to be vulnerable. We want to be protected. So we have these mechanisms, protective mechanisms, and part of them are the false ego mechanisms, to keep us safe. And they're there for a purpose, because we do need to keep ourselves safe in certain ways, with certain people, in certain circumstances. We need that, and Krishna gave that to us automatically, because otherwise we wouldn't know what to do. He gave us so many automatic processes. However, again, Krishna consciousness is not just the automatic processes. In our relationship with Krishna, we don't want to be protective. We want to be vulnerable. When we can understand that, not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's will, and he really wants to help each and every one of us. He loves us so much, he wants us to come back more than we want. He really wants that for us, and so he gives us so many opportunities. However, the opportunities are disguised. They come through this Prabhu or this Mataji. They come through others. Now, if it comes from an elevated devotee or a sannyasi or a guru, maybe we can take it. But when it comes from somebody else, we don't recognize it as Krishna. However, every event that happens in our life is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to say, okay, what's going on in me? Why am I getting so upset? Why am I getting so upset? So when we point the finger out here, we might miss an opportunity in here. Now, sometimes as authorities and administrators, we have a job to make sure things out here are being taken care of. That's one thing. However, to mix that administrative work, and that's why it's really hard to be an administrator, with our own Krishna consciousness is difficult, because sometimes then we become, that mentality comes in our whole life. We need to be able to put that hat aside, and even if we're a senior or whatever, we need to be able to put that hat aside to see, okay, what does Krishna want to teach me? What does Krishna want to teach me here? What does Krishna want to teach me by this verse being this verse here and not the verse that I wanted to give? What does Krishna want to teach me? And being open to that and looking inward, we can get so many gifts. And it's really, really hard for us to change anything out here. I mean, we can change little things, but you can't change another person. Even gurus can't change their disciples. Even spouses can't change their spouse. We can't change our kids. We can't change our godbrothers. We wish we could. We try to. I haven't had any experience of that really happening. However, as we work on ourselves, every little thing that we do to work on ourselves transforms our relationships, transforms the way we see another person, transforms the way we interact, even when things come that don't feel so pleasant. So it's really up to you. I mean, investing in your own Krishna consciousness That's really only, we are fully responsible for this person right here. No one is going to take us back to Godhead without our participation. Not even Guru, not even Krishna. They're not going to drag us back. We need to participate in that. And we are responsible for our own consciousness. No one can change our consciousness. I mean, people may say things which have us reflect, but no one can change our consciousness. No one can chant our rounds for us. We can't outsource that service. We can't delegate that service. It behooves us to take that responsibility. If each and every person in the movement just took that responsibility so seriously, rather than pointing fingers, backbiting, gossiping, my goodness gracious, distracting ourselves from our real work. Wow! What a movement it would be. However, I can't control anybody. I only have little control over this one person. How can I manage my mind? How can I manage my words? I like the word manage better than control. It seems a little less forceful. When we take that like as a real intention in life, what do you want to teach me, Krishna? We learn so much. We learn so much. But if we already think we know, and we know they shouldn't be doing that, and we know this, and we know that, what do you learn when you know everything, or whatever you think you know? You can't learn. Sometimes our knowing gets in the way of our growing. When we don't know, what the heck am I going to say here today, Krishna? Please help me. I don't know what I'm going to say. Then we become dependent, and then we become open, and we become a little vulnerable to hear Super Soul maybe giving us some little proddings. Was that an answer or not? Is there more question? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. There's one more, and then you can ask, but there's another question here. Let's see.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji,
Hare
for
Bol.
telling that attentiveness is very vital in the devotional process. So, yeah. So, in your book, actually, I have a question on this attentiveness only. How we apply attentiveness, because in your book you spoke about the lies which we speak to
Well,
ourselves.
the lies,
Yeah.
well, we don't really necessarily speak them. We just believe them.
Believe them, yeah. Believe them, or speak to ourselves within.
Yeah.
We accept
Yeah.
it, yeah.
What we tell ourselves.
Yeah. So in that you were like, I was thinking that, okay, it's not just in material life, even after coming to devotional service also, these lies we speak to ourselves. Like for example, you cracked persona which you were referring, which says that I am not lovable, I am not, I have something wrong in me. So humility also appears like that in when devotee comes, he says, I am very fallen Prabhu. And you told about comparing persona, where we want to be included in the group. Sometimes being included within the devotional devotees appears as if we are in a group. So that way also in devotional service it can be misleading also when we apply that. So similarly, confronting persona when there is some mishap happens while doing services or anything, suddenly we also speak, we also feel shocked, and we try to produce something or do some extra work to prove ourselves.
Right, these are protective mechanisms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of our ego,
yeah.
software programming, which we call ahankara. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this way, the personas which you were saying in your book, so same thing can be within the devotional life also, like I gave the example. So in that sense, how we have to be careful, because you spoke about attentiveness. So where should our attentiveness be focused on, so that we actually take shelter of Krishna amidst all these lies which we speak to ourselves, which I speak to myself.
Yeah, I remember vaguely somewhere in this purport, it was talking about knowing the difference between vidya and avidya, knowing the difference between truth and truth and non-truth, or material and spiritual. We need to know, we need to understand our material body, our material mind, our material persona. We need to understand what we're working with here. We all have different model cars. You know, there's different kinds of cars. Some people have race cars. Some people have four-wheeled Jeeps. We have different kinds of cars, and they function differently. They may even have the blinker on different sides. If we don't know where the blinker is, of course, nobody uses blinkers in India. No, I take that back. Most people don't use blinkers in India. The windshield wipers. If we don't know where the windshield wipers button is, when it's raining, we're going to have difficulty driving. So just like that, we need to know what's going on in our machine so that we can witness and understand it rather than be controlled by it. What we don't know controls us, just like an app running in the background. You know, our battery gets drained by things that we're not really conscious of, but when we become conscious of them, then we can do something about it. So these different personas, they're stories that we tell ourselves. They're stories that come from our past lives. Who knows what happened in our past life? But generally the stories begin with the pain of the soul. And I'm just going to take 1 minute to talk about this because it's all written in the book. As a soul, we've lost our identity. Right now, we don't know who we really are. We've lost our identity. We've lost our connection with Krishna, that our relationship with Krishna has been broken. We've lost all of our friends in the spiritual world. These are big losses. And we have grief about that. We have pain about that. There's grief there. Now, not only have we lost all these things, we feel a bit shameful because somewhere we know that we have something to do with us being here. So there's loss, and then there's shame. That's a lot of pain. And that pain is misinterpreted through our material mind, and we make it mean something personal. I am bad. I'm no good. I am shameful. And we latch onto that identity because we need something to hold on to. We need some identity, and we hold on to that identity, but that identity is not the truth. It's a lie, and we have layers of these lies, and then we try to paste the absolute truth on top of lies. The absolute truth will not stick on top of the lies. So we really need to, even Prabhupada says, we need to, pull the layers off. We need to uncover the soul. We need to wake up the soul. The soul is like suffocating under these layers. And as we peel back these layers, the natural qualities of a devotee can manifest because they're there, but they get perverted through all these layers. And then when they come out, maybe not so pleasant. So I don't know if that answered your question. I wasn't quite sure about that. I'm just noticing that it's way past time here. Sorry. I'll have to talk to you after the class. I want to honor your time and your schedules. I'm sorry? can you tell me, I don't want to interfere with your schedules. It's time for you. You all need to go, right? Or can you have 5 more minutes? Tell me. I need to get permission. What's that? Okay, I'll take one more question. I'll do yours later. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mataji, Dandavad Pranam, for your so insightful transcendental evokes insight us within our hearts. So my question is, as a ladies, we have to complete more duties or household chores in the morning. We have to make tiffins for the children and all that.
Yes.
So we can chant only half of the rounds, or
Right.
sometimes 3 rounds, 5 rounds, and
Right. Right.
okay, so in the morning tempo, our chanting quality is higher, but in the afternoon or sometimes we have to chant in the evening also.
Right.
So how can I maintain that tempo of the morning,
Thank
or
you.
that quality of that chanting till the evening? If sometimes I have to chant in the evening also,
Yes.
at the
Yes.
night 9 o'clock also.
Yes.
So how can I maintain that?
We can only do the best we can with the circumstances we have. And when we have children and families, that is part of our responsibility to tend to them. Now, giving ourselves a little time alone with Krishna, if we can, that's great. If we can go to bed a little early so we can have maybe, like you said, half of your rounds done in the morning, that's wonderful. Now, Krishna is not mean, and he's not a punishing God. He's a kind, compassionate, loving person. You look at him, he's smiling. He's not mean, okay? He understands our struggles. He understands what we're dealing with. We just want to try to do the best that we can. And as the kids grow, we may have more time, and when they go out of the family, then we'll have more time. So we're working towards, step by step, towards aligning more and more. We just can only do the best we can do, and Krishna accepts that. Can we accept it? Can we be okay with the best we can do, or are we beating ourselves up because we're not perfect in 5 years or less? Are we beating ourselves up? Because if we're beating ourselves up because we're not so-called perfect, that's adding more burden, heaviness, weight, and it drains our battery even more. So Krishna's compassionate. Can we be compassionate to ourselves? And that compassion may enthuse us and help us to, have the energy to do more. But if we beat ourselves up, we're going to have less energy. So that's my only comment on that. Thank you so much for your time and your attention and your participation. If anybody wants to get books, I'll be here for a little bit. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Haribo. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is Himangi here? No, she's not. Oh, she's at school. Did you get your copy of what to do about Surya?